Hi folks, it's Andy and welcome to this week's Kendo rant. I hope you're having a great day. And yeah, we've got loads of questions to get to. And yeah, you know what? I'm not even going to say the whole like, share, subscribe thing. I know I said it, I made a joke about that last week and stuff, but I'm not even going to do it. Look, you know, everyone knows how YouTube works, right? So yeah. What I do want to say though is join the Kendo Show Early Access group because loads of the questions come from there. It's where I post every week asking for the questions. It's a great place to post the questions because it's not just the answers that you get from here, but you get like all the community answers as well. And it's a great community. There's like thousands of Kendokai in there, literally, and ranging from all sorts of grades, really high grades as well. So it's a great place to get feedback. It's a really great community in there. So get in the group. And most importantly, of course, don't forget to do your shopping at KendoStar.com. That's what keeps this channel alive, of course. That's my website that offers fantastic, amazing Kendo equipment. Don't have to take my word for it though. Check out our reviews. We're the best reviewed Kendo shop online by far. So you definitely want to be doing your shopping there. It helps us out as well, especially at this difficult time. We all know we're going through this difficult situation with the whole lockdown thing that's going on. So yeah, it'll be really great to have your support to make sure that we come through this to the side. So yeah, get to KendoStar.com. Right, first question. This one, I think this is one that this is one that was a comment on YouTube. So it says, "Hi Andy, would you ever consider doing a video talking about the process of designing and producing a Bolga set? Obviously you talk a lot about all the KendoStar sets and their differences, but I've got no idea what the process actually looks like. If you have the chance to visit the manufacturers when this is all over, maybe a cool to see a start to finish kind of video." So yeah, actually, no, I haven't thought about doing that, and I think it's quite an interesting idea. Would you guys like to see that? Would you like to see how we go about designing a new Bolga set? I'm not sure I really want to go around the workshop and stuff and disturb the guys' works and stuff like that. I mean, it's on the other side of the world to where I am right now, but I do obviously do go there when this whole when this pandemic rubbish is all done. I do normally visit them and stuff. So, yeah, maybe we could do that. Maybe. But certainly I'd be quite interested to show you a sort of, I'd be, perfectly fine with showing you how I come about designing a Bolga set, I guess. I think. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really worried about competitors ripping it off and stuff because they could do that easily enough anyway afterwards, and they do, as you've probably seen. So yeah, it could be a good one. If you like that idea, let me know in the comments down below. Next one, you may be very curious because my sensei said something similar to what you did about cow leather. What is it about cow leather that causes it to end up cracking or looking terrible when used for Bolgas? So in the last video, we talked about Bolga materials and stuff, and I mentioned how cow leather, in other words, leather that's from cows, is a really terrible material for use for Kendo or Bolga. Instead, when we use leather, it's either like a deer skin or a synthetic deer skin. And the reason cow leather is really bad for it is it does not respond well to moisture. So like getting wet and then drying out, it doesn't respond well to that. So it just isn't a good material for it. It weakens it. And it's prone to cracking and breaking, and it goes all shiny and it looks rubbish. So we never use it for our equipment. You don't want it on the tenuichi of your kote. You don't want it on the outside. The stuff when it's dyed, when they try to indigo dye it and put it on the outside of the Bolga instead of deerskin, it's like it looks a lot like deerskin when it's brand new, and then you use it for a year or two, and it just looks like rubbish. The dye sort of goes a funny color. Sometimes it goes a sort of purple or a grey color. It goes all shiny, and like I say, it's all cracking, it's all stiff. You don't want to use that stuff for Kendo Bolga. You can tell when you see a Bolga that uses cow leather, it's designed by somebody that doesn't know about Bolga and doesn't practice Kendo. So yeah, that's why. Next one, I'm a new practitioner of Kendo and I've watched a ton of videos. Oh, this one came by email actually. And I'm grateful for all the techniques that I've gleaned from watching them. Although one of the big things missing is breathing technique, controlled breathing, and how to strengthen your lungs. I realise that even being a gig rower, my lung capacity is lacking and I'm often winded, thus giving away hints of when I will move. Can you do a video focused on what's often overlooked in all sports? Breathing. So, okay. Yeah, I haven't done a video about breathing because it's not something I think like I could really give accurate instruction over a video, to be honest. It's a difficult one. You said you're just starting out in Kendo, so I don't think it's something you need to worry about massively, all right? It's not a massive thing you need to worry about. But what I would probably say is the concept of breathing in Kendo, the way you really want to do it, as to my current understanding, shall we say, and I could well be wrong about this, but you start from the far distance, and that's when you do your hase or kakegoe. Yeah! Use the kiai there. Yeah! Then you start to gain distance, get into your cutting distance. And all this time, as much as, well, generally, the ideal is for this now to be, after that first, yeah! You're supposed to now be holding your breath. You're not breathing so much. Okay? You could probably slowly exhale a little bit, but you don't really want to be this way, all right? And there's two reasons for that. Basically, what you want to be doing is, yeah, holding your breath, seme, man, and attack all in that single breath. Or it might not work like that. Yeah! Step in, seme. Come on, attack me. If you don't attack me, I'm going to attack you. If you don't attack me, he attacked. Kaishido. Yeah? Or he doesn't attack. Yes, he did. Kote, Devana Kote, that sort of thing. It's really, see how it's hard to put it across in video? It's kind of just a bit weird. But that's quite advanced level stuff. And it's quite hard to do, especially in the sort of back and forth with Shiai. I don't think it's not as straightforward as that. But the reasons for it, I came away from that. But the two reasons for it is, one, you don't want to have to take a breath before you attack. If you okay, step in. Okay, now I want to strike kote. This point of breathing, that's the point where you're going to get hit. Okay, and it's the second reason is connected to the first one, is that it gives it away, which is what you said in your question. It's one of the opportunities to strike is when the opponent takes a breath. So as much as possible, you want to minimize that. However, you also don't want to be like this is start going lightheaded in the middle of your match either. So there's some sort of, there's a balance to it. The ideal, yeah, step in, seme, what's happening? What's he doing? Chance, man, yeah, is ideal. It doesn't always play out like that. If you're just starting out in Kendo, though, don't worry about it too much. We all get out of breath, especially when we're first starting out. It doesn't matter how fit you are, what experience you've got elsewhere. Everybody gets tired in the first few years of Kendo, and you still keep getting tired. And the idea is you push yourself more and more and more. I still get tired in Keiko, but yeah, not to the extent that I used to when I first started out and I put the Borgo on, everything's heavy. I'm starting to move in ways that I'm not used to. Of course, I got out of breath as well. So yeah, don't worry about it too much. If you're a little bit more advanced and you're watching this, then that's the kind of ideal of what I guess we're sort of working towards. Next one. When this lockdown ends, how will it affect dojos if social distancing still applies when would wearing masks help? So I mentioned this last week. We talked about it in the video last week. I don't know. Of course I don't know. I don't think... I mentioned last week there was people trying to sell like this Japanese in Japan. There's like burger companies trying to sell masks that go on the inside of the men. I don't buy into that idea. I don't think we'll be able to do that. I don't think we'll be able to like wear a mask on the inside of the men and then just engage in keiko as normal. My sort of, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens really with guidelines in each different country, and we'll have to follow whatever it is that's appropriate there. I don't think, like I said, I don't think the idea of like trying to do keiko with bogo on with a mask on underneath and then not shouting and not doing tai and stuff like that, I don't think that's worth it, if I'm honest. We'd be better off if we're in the situation where we can return to the dojo, but we still got to maintain elements of social distancing. We've got to consider that sort of thing. Then yeah, we'd be probably better just like really spaced out and just doing suburi together or something, or maybe some kata practice if we're allowed to do paired work. I don't think like modifying like boga practice is really the way to go. It's probably not what I'm going to do in my dojo. Okay, next one. How can I progress my kendo if there's a huge language barrier? I'm currently first dan practicing kendo in China, and sometimes I find it difficult. Okay, so this is a really interesting question. I'm really glad you asked it. I do understand. I've never practiced kendo in China. I've been to China several times, so I've never practiced kendo there yet. But I do understand that they use Chinese language in place of a lot of the Japanese language that we use in other countries, which is cool. It's natural because at the end of the day, one thing that gets missed about a lot of the Japanese words we use in kendo is we use a lot of them because we were taught, like kendo was introduced to our countries from Japanese teachers who used Japanese language to teach it. And it's kind of morphed into this sort of idea of terminology when it's not terminology, it's language and it's fluid. That's really beside the point of what you're asking, but you know, some the Japanese words that we use in kendo class are words from a language. They're not strict terms as in terminology, which is why like something like nukido, a waza name like nukido, can be interpreted differently by different people in Japan. It doesn't mean a specific waza. So sometimes we get into semantic arguments. I'm going off on a proper tangent, but it's Kendo RANT. Get into like semantic arguments saying, well, no, nukido is this, and men kaishi men or kote kaishi men is this specific movement. And it doesn't work like that, actually, because it's like it's linguistic inference. It's not. It depends how different people. There's people that call a specific technique where a person attacks kote and you deflect with the shinai this way and strike men. Most people, especially outside of Japan, call that kote suriage men, which it is, because you kote ni taishite suriagete men. You do against the kote, you do like a suriageru motion and then strike men. That's correct. But there's people that call it kote kaishi men, even though most of us consider that where you block on this side and return your wrists over that way, because you return a men strike. So it's not that strict. Anyway, back to the question now. I've had my little rant. This is Kendo RANT after all. It's one of those days today. Back to the question about when you've got a language barrier, all right? I can relate to this massively because when I moved to Japan, I didn't speak Japanese really at all. I could do a few introductions, but my first 3 years living in Japan, I didn't really understand half of what was being said to me. And the first year, I hardly understood any of it. So I understand what you're going through. The answer's difficult in terms of what it is. You have to learn the language. I'm afraid. You have to learn the language. One of the first pieces of advice I was given to by a very esteemed sensei that I respect very much, when I went to train in Japan for a month at a very successful high school, the sensei said to me on my last day, he said two things. It's a story I tell often. He said two things to me. The first piece of advice he said, when we do kakari and I tell you to stop, you can stop now. That's enough. You can stop now. Yes, thank you, Sensei, is the wrong answer. You should keep doing Karigeko. Say, no, Sensei, please let me do more. That was his first piece of advice. And his second advice was, if you really want to get good at Kendo, learn to speak Japanese. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. He said, because all the best senseis speak Japanese. So that was what really spurred me on to learn to speak Japanese. Obviously, my wife translated for me at the time. That's how I knew what he was saying, because I didn't understand what he was saying at the time. So yeah, you've got to, obviously we're not talking about Japanese, talking about Chinese, because you're in China. But if you want to progress your Kendo, you're going to have to be able to converse with your teachers. So you're going to have to learn to understand more Chinese. I'm sure you can do it though. Yeah. And also you could watch the Kendo show, because that's in English. Next one. I just began Kendo at the beginning of the year. What's a reasonable amount of time one can expect to practice before they're ready to advance through the Q grades? I've seen info for Dan promotion, but very little on the Q grades. Not looking to rush things. I'm just curious. So this is really good. We was asked this a couple of weeks ago as well, and saying there's lots of information about how to progress through Dan grades, but what about the Q grades? To be honest, it depends. Now, obviously, with the whole pandemic situation right now, we really can't count this time as time towards progressing through the Q grades. All right. You have to be able to make strikes with Kikentai no Ichi using Fumikomi that show Zanshin and meet the criteria of Yuko Datotsu. All right. What that means is the strikes have to unify the sword body and spirit. You have to show Zanshin. You have to do Fumikomi. If you do that, it meets the criteria of Yuko Datotsu, right? You have to do that to a reasonable standard. And if you can do Kirikaishi, the exercise Kirikaishi, whilst doing that with Fumikomi that's timed with the cut, all right? With your cuts on your first men strike. Yeah, step in. Men with Fumikomi, okay? If you can do that and then do your men, showing Kentai no Ichi, both with the Fumikomi and with your Suriashi as well as you do your left and right strikes. Men, go through. That's not Zanshin, by the way. That's part of the exercise. And then when you come to do your Jitsugi, your actual fighting, you're showing Zanshin in your strikes. That's enough to pass Shodan, all right? That's enough to pass first Dan, all right? So, the steps towards that, they depend on the region that you're in, your teachers and stuff like that. So I can't say exactly you need to do this. But for Shodan, that's what you have to be able to do. So that's the journey you're towards, right? Now the steps on that staircase, shall we call it, or the rungs on that ladder, they're slightly different depending on where you are, but they all lead to the same place, all right? The distance is essentially the same. So look at that and try and work towards that, because to be honest, here's the thing: those steps that I'm talking about, they're the steps that lead up to the path that's at the bottom of the mountain. All right, there are super small steps. All right, they feel big right now when you're a beginner. It did for me. All right, but once you just have to aim for that first, that beginning of the path. Yeah. And you'll get there, all right? So think about Kentai no Ichi, Fumikomi, Zanshin, all right? And you'll be able to progress through your Q grades. How quickly you do that, it's up to you, I'm afraid. There's no secret about what you need to do. There's no secret method of how you need to do it. The information's all out there as to what you have to do and how to get towards doing it, all right? I from starting Kendo in my own case, now I was totally obsessed with Kendo. It consumed me from the beginning, and Kendo was everything of my being from starting. So I was able to achieve my first Dan. I went through my Q grades. Now, I was in a system where I was able to do that. Now, I appreciate in some countries you cannot do this because you've got to grade through each Q grade. You didn't have to do that in the country I was in. You don't have to do that in Japan, for example, unless you're a kid. and I was able to do, I think I got my first dan after 10 months of starting Kendo. That's unusual. Most people take 2 years, right? It's just like, I was super obsessed. So it depends on you. Some people it takes 5 years, and that's fine. It ain't like you have to do it in that time either, all right? So take your time with it. What you have to know, though, is you have to be able to get to that point where you're doing strikes with Kikentai no Ichi, Zanshin, and Fumikomi, okay? Fumikomi. Next one. So, who was Hyakuman? Hyakuman was a TV show. It was like before I ever did Kendo. Like it's from years and years ago. That was aired in Japan. It was certainly from before I lived in Japan anyway. So I never saw it live. That was like there was a secret kendoka who was wearing a very flamboyant outfit. And challengers who were kendoka could compete, and to go on the show they could compete, and if they beat him, they would I think they win 1,000,000 yen, which is called Hyakuman yen. Yeah, Hyakuman is 1,000,000. That's why he's called Hyakuman. Yeah. So basically, it was like a game show like that, and they had a very, very strong person playing the Hyakuman. Now, who is it? I've heard rumors. I've heard rumors, unofficial information as to who it was underneath the outfit, and I'm not at liberty to say because I ain't spreading those rumors because I was told it in confidence and I ain't about to spread it around. Sorry. Next. Hi, Andy. Hope you and the family are all well. My question is, have you done or doing or thinking about doing a Shinhye Maintenance video, i.e. things to check, look out for, strip down and rebuild? It's not for me. After speaking to a new member at the dojo, he was asking how to do it and this and that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. Yes, I've done a video. About it. It's a bit old now. I think I linked to it after this comment. It's a bit old now. It's getting a little bit out of date, so I definitely need to do a new one. So I'll probably try and do a new one as soon as I can, probably in the coming weeks, because it is something that needs doing, to be honest, especially as we're all sat at home, not being able to go to the dojo. Then doing some Shinhye maintenance is a good thing to do. So yeah, I'll probably try and do one soon, a new one. Next one. Hi, long time lurker, first time asking a question. I saw some tameshigiri on YouTube and it made me wonder. In tameshigiri, they seem to cut by drawing the blade back and turning the hips, whereas in Kendo we generally cut by driving the blade forwards, keeping the hips square. Looking into it, I found the terms kiritsuke and kirioroshi to describe different types of cutting action, but I'm not clear on the differences. Could you elaborate on the correct cutting action motion in Kendo, please? Yeah, sure. Okay, so we don't have tameshigiri in Kendo. Tameshigiri means test cutting. That's literally what it means. It's when they get I think they call it a makiwara, which is bound up straw. Sometimes I think they've got bamboo inside it, and they use their shinken, a real sword, to cut it, to test their cutting technique. And that's why, like with you see them doing that sort of pulling action. I think I'm not an expert on it. It's not a Kendo thing. So that they can make those effective cuts with their katana. Now, here's the thing. Controversy time. In Kendo, we don't cut with the shinai, right? We often use the word cut. And we use the only time we use the word cut in Kendo is in the name of the exercise, kirikaishi, I think. I think that's probably just from history. There's places that call it uchikaishi. All the waza in Kendo are called something uchi, men uchi, kote uchi, do uchi, and basically that means hit or strike, all right? Because that's what we do with the shinai. The shinai represents a Japanese sword, but it's not a replacement for a Japanese sword, and that's an important thing to remember. We don't strike or hit. We make, with a shinai, the same way that you would with a sword. I don't know if that would work with a sword or not, because Kendo is not sword fighting. Kendo is a method of self-improvement through combat that we base around the principles of the sword, the Japanese sword specifically, but it's not learning how to effectively use a Japanese sword in a duel in that way. So even the word datotsu, it means hitting and striking. It doesn't mean like cutting at all. The datotsu is uchi from meuchi, and the da is that, and datotsu, the totsu is I think it's a tsuki. I'm not great on kanji, but it's tsuki, poking, stabbing. All right. So yeah, tameshigiri is not relevant to Kendo, and the things you've seen on that, although interesting, aren't relevant to the way we strike or cut in Kendo. So the way we, that's why the way we strike in Kendo this way is not this sort of pulling way, which I believe is what they do with a real sword in Kenjutsu, or maybe even in Iaido. I don't know. I don't do those arts, so I wouldn't know how to talk about it. But the way we should cut is the way that I've explained lots of times in our Subudi videos and the Kendo Zero to Shodan and stuff like that. All right, it's not this sort of. It's not a pull like this. It's a snap of the wrists this way. It's a push of the wrists this way. That's the way we use the shinai to strike. Now, we don't do that with a bokuto in kata. We do it a little bit more similar. What you're describing, similar to how we would use a bokuto. You don't do this with a bokuto when you do kata. You don't do, your sort of toe like that. Yeah, it's toe, isn't it? It's like it's more like that. So we do have it a little bit in the kata, but for the majority of Kendo, which is done with the shinai, it's strikes rather than cuts. All right. Next one. I'm not sure how to interpret this one. It says, can we have live personal training and live coaching for training? Go Australia. Yeah, go Australia. So I'm wondering if you mean like a live training, well, obviously that's what you said, I guess. So Kendo World do one with Alec Bennett Sensei. Go and do that one, because I join it when I can. It's really, really good. Alec Sensei is amazing. One of the leading Kendoka in the world. So, I don't think I need to do it when he's doing that one. Yeah, go and do that one. If you want to train with me, use the Subudi video. I've done 2 of them now. Use those videos and train along. It's the same thing. And this is the last one. Now, what's the best way to store the gear during a long Kendo break? So, the best way to store your gear is my shinai, just in my shinai bag as normal. And my Borger is out of the Borger bag. Don't keep it in the Borger bag. Try and keep it in a dry place. And I have a shelf where my Borger is on. I've got a lot of Borger, right? I've got like 6 or 7 Borg sets. So I have a lot of shelves, right? But like if you have like a shelf or an area, you can get it out of the Borger bag and lay it all out so it can get the air to it and through it, so it's not going to go moldy and stuff, and it'll be fine. To be honest, if you're struggling for space and everything, and you need to keep it in the bag, it's not the end of the world if you do that, right? It's not the end of the world. Just make sure it's totally dry when you put it in the bag, and make sure it's kept in a dry place, okay? And it should be fine, all right? And that's it. Okay, so thank you for joining me today. Join the Kendo Show Early Access group. Don't forget to shop at KendoStar. Keep yourself safe, folks. I'm really looking forward to getting back to Kendo. I don't know when it's going to be. I hope it's not going to be too much longer, but I'm sure it is. But we'll see. Keep positive. I'm sure it's all going to be wonderful again, and we can enjoy crossing Shinhye, and I hope I get to cross Shinhye with you. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.